something really fun about programming are the manipulation of variables. But thing is that variables do have limitations. For example, say I have a lot of players that I want to ban from entering a specific building or a specific area for my faction. It would be really inconvenient to write the name of each player in its own separate variable. But still, how do we store this data? Well, this video will show a very important part of programming, which is arrays, which is a way to put in one single variable multiple variables. So, what is an array? Well, an array is just a collection of data. For example, let's create our first array. We open the curly brackets in a variable, and then just shoot our data. So 1, 5, 6, 7. Every single part of this element, every single element in this array is separated with a comma. Now, this is an array that has 4 elements, the first one being 1, 5, 6, and 7. This is how it's being defined. And the way to access each element, so for example, if I want to get the 6, I go with temp.array, open brackets, and then put in the index of the element I want. For example, the 6 is on the 3rd position, which means element 2, since every array starts by 0. So 0 would be 1, 1 would be 5, and 2 would be 6. Now if I echo this, player.chat it, and hit apply, yep, we do actually see the 6. So this is how you create an array. And of course, it's not limited to 4 elements. I can add an 8. I can duplicate element, have a 7. And it's not only numbers. I can have an array of strings. So hello, I am here, and chosen. So if I apply this, we still get chosen. If I go to 0, we get hello. And this is basically how we can store it in multiple variables into one single variable as temp.r right here. A real nice thing also that will really be used into more advanced programming is the fact that since array are variables, they can be inside other arrays. For example, right here I can read another array, 1, 2, 3, 4, then another array like 4, 6, 2, and etc. However much I want. In that case, if I apply, you can see I can see the entire array on my player. So if I want to access a specific element, so let's say I want to access the 6 in the second array. So I apply 1 because I want the second element, and then I chain it and then apply 1, 1. So I'm going at the second element of which is an array, and then going into this array's second element. If I apply, I do get 6 again. So that's how multidimensional array works. Now, right now, they may not sound very interesting, but they're very well used and are rather important in a lot of programming scenarios and use cases, one of which we'll be going through later on. Now, a really important thing about array is actually iterating through them, or going through them to actually analyze the data that is present inside. So the best way to do it, since an array usually has a fixed length, the best way to actually do it is to go with a for loop. So if I write my for loop, so as you can see this for loop, I'm starting at 0 because every single element in the array starts, the first element in an array is always 0. And then I'm comparing it to the array.size. This will always give me exactly how long the array is. So in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. So temp.array.size is equal to 5. Being strictly less will mean I stop at 4. And thus I'm going from 0 to 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exactly. And then I'm going to echo every single one of the elements by accessing it with the brackets. And if I run this code, as we can see, 3, 6, 7, 8, 1. 3, 6, 7, 8, 1. Exactly what was expected of us from the array. Now, arrays also have a very specific thing going on for them, is that they don't need to actually create a loop and actually access with a counter. and actually check it like that. They have their own for loops. So if I remove this one and I write this for loop, so it's written as for each item or temp.item in array, I want to do something with the item. What this loop does, it just takes in every single element of the array one by one and finishes when the array is complete or when we hit the last element, and actually gives me access directly to temp.item, which is the actual element we're positioned in the loop. So if I apply this right now, as you can see, 3, 6, 7, 8, 1, which is the exact same result we had before, but in a cleaner form. Now, this for loop is amazing when you're actually trying to use the array for the actual elements, but it does lose a bit when you actually want to see on which step of the list you're on. The prior for loop with the counter actually tells you that, okay, we're on element 0, on element 2. So you'd know at where on the array you're at if you want to figure out an order, maybe create a sorting or something like that. Now, array seems fun. It can store a lot of data, right? But as you can see right now, okay, looping in them, being static, well, it doesn't help a lot. So let's go back to our band list example. So let's say player 1, player 2, and player 4. Say that these players are banned from entering a specific area. Well, arrays actually have special methods to them, like the size one, okay, that allow us to manipulate the array. For example, the size actually gives us the size of the array. But using add can also add elements to the array. So at the end of it. So let's add player 3 to the array. Now if I echo the array, as we can see, player 1, player 2, player 4, and then player 3. So we actually are adding elements and changing to it. Now you can also remove elements from an array. So you're not limiting just adding. For example, you can say temp.array.delete, and now this is where like having an actual counter helps when you're iterating through a loop, because delete takes in an actual index, so the position that we want to remove. So if I want to remove player 2, I'm going to have to give it the index of 1. And now if I echo the array, yep, as you can see, I have player 1, player 4, and player 3. And before, which was right here, we did add player 3 and player 2 was existing. Now, other methods, you can use temp.array.remove and a specific object. In instance, right here, we can say player 1. And if we echo, we do get player 1 being removed. Right here, you just have player 4 and player 3. This will search the entire array and actually find player 1 and remove it. And you can also insert temp.array.insert. You would give it like a position. For example, let's insert at 1 and the value you want to give it. So for example, player 7. And once we echo, yep, player 7 has been inserted at position 1 to replace player 2 because we deleted it, then we inserted at position 1. So really this is a lot of how we can manipulate arrays. And it's really convenient because now I can create an entire list of players and dynamically change them. For example, if a player is actually killing other faction members, I can just throw him in that list with an add, and then he'll be permanently banned from this zone or be kicked out. So, and of course, if a player wants to be unbanned, we can just remove him from the specific list. A very cool thing about array, specifically in GraalScript, differing from other scripting language, is that arrays do not have, the variables in the array do not have to have the same type. So in our examples, we had all integers, or right here, all strings. But an array can actually have multiple types. For example, here's a 3, player 4, and then like a 2.5 float. It does not matter and it can work. You can add, remove, do whatever. And this actually comes in key for GraalScript 2. So imagine I want to create a gun or a weapon. Let's give a gun for an example. So what would I need for the gun? So let me write the gun. I'm going to create an array because I need multiple variables that represent this gun. So first, I would like the gun name. So what would be displayed when someone was going to buy it. Then I would like the PNG file or the picture that's on the server. So gun, blue gun, let's say, .png. Now this image is going to get displayed when I'm actually equipping the gun. Then I can actually give the damage the gun does, like 10 HP. Then the reload time, 3.2 seconds, because it's a sniper. And then the ammunition inside every magazine, for example, 5 shots before it has to reload. And really, you get the idea. And you can even add a boolean. So for example, false, to see if it is equipped or not. So right here, we just create a gun. It's all the stats we need. Now we can just go in a function shoot, and then just get the ammunition count. So temp.gun. Since the ammunition count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it's at position 4, is equal to temp.gun 4 minus 1, because we're shooting. And of course, if it's less than 0, then we want to put it back to 5. Okay, now we basically have a shooting function. Then if it hits something, we can do the damage to that person, etc. It's a great way to create specific features and actually make them connect to each other. Now, right now, we create one gun. Maybe you can have like 20 of them and all put them in a multi-dimensional array as we've seen prior. So let's copy this for sake of the example. So now we have two guns. So now we have two guns, name 2 for example, and it does 15 damage and it takes 1 second to reload, but has 2 bullets in the magazine. Now of course when we're shooting right now, because it's the guns, we'd have to change this variable and actually choose which gun we're checking. So for example at 0, which is the first gun. But yeah, and actually create your own system to manage it and create your own objects and your own custom data that holds data basically. That's a really great way to do it in GraalScript 2. So these are basically arrays and they're really important and really useful in GraalScript 2. Another example I can just throw out of my head right now is, for example, a quest. You need to go find 4 or 5 objects inside the world. And these objects are stored in an array, their position at least, so that when you start the quest, they all spawn by checking this array, rather than having like temp.object1, object2, object3, each its own position, and etc. So I do know that some information may be a lot, but really our Discord channel and our vast community of developers is here to help you out if you have any questions. You are really welcome there.